I'm going to keep this third video relatively short so that we cover just the main aspects. I will open up the employee. We've already looked at department, so the department notebook file. Let's see. Open this up. I was just in the home directory, so we discussed this. One of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention was this concept of a static method. A static method is one that belongs to the class. So what that means is when we use or call that method, you can see I don't use an object of the class, but I call it directly from the class. And usually if you're dealing with multiple objects at the same time, then you're not making it an object method, but a class method, and that's the other name is a static method. So here you can see I've encapsulated all this sort of the test code for testing if the departments are being created in this static method, and then I'm just calling it separately. It's probably cleaner than the previous approach that we were using with checking if we are in a main method, name is main, and then populating. So this is an alternate approach for creating the sample or test data. Okay. So similarly with the employee, I have done pretty much the same for testing employees, created a static method. So I posted these two as separate documents so you can compare the two approaches for creating this testing for seeing if the constructors are working and creating the test employees. And you can then call the test employees, it's with the plural here, you can call the test employees method on the class. So if I were to run all the cells now, I should be getting the objects that were created for department and the employee that connects up to the department. So these two we discussed in the first two videos, but the additional piece is the static method here. The next concept that I wanted to touch upon was this this particular method, find manager, and this is a recursive method. And if you remember, this employee to manager is a unary association. So whenever you see a unary association with the same class, there is the recursive method becomes a possibility, and you can see that in this case it's actually very clean. What it's determining is an employee's manager, so we are printing the employee's name and the manager's name and the manager's job title, as long as this object has a manager. Okay, so I'm checking to see it's not null or not none, and then you can see I just call the same find manager method. So I'm saying for this object, for that object's manager, so this object is an employee object, for the manager of that employee call itself. So whenever you have a method calling itself, you are then applying this concept of recursion. You always want to have a stopping point. So when there are no more managers, when it reaches none, at that point it would stop. Okay. So, and finally, the last piece that I wanted to show you in this video, you can see that I've created department.py, employee.py, two Python files, which I use in this client, department employee client Python notebook file. So I import both of them, and then you can see I create a department employee list, and over here I'm applying the recursive method to find manager. So for each employee in the employee list, I'm getting the employee's name, department, and then I find the manager. And if there is a manager like John Thomas, it gets John Thomas's manager, and so John Thomas's manager is Sue Brown, and Sue Brown's manager is Bob Huggins. So it gives you the multiple levels. Okay, so these are some of the concepts. Again, to quickly review, it is using a static method, which is a method that belongs to the class. So this is the keyword, static method, and if it belongs to a class, you call it directly from the class. So that's one concept. The second concept is the recursive method, where the method calls itself. And the third is this client class, which imports department and employee and then uses the recursive method. So I would request you to go through this, and if you have questions, email me. I'm going to compile it, and I will then create another document and a video if you had any questions that need to be addressed.